Hello everyone, how are y'all doing? I hope you are having a grand old time enjoying the playoffs. Now, this could be somewhat of a surprising video considering the timing of it all, but I thought it was still worth talking about, worth uploading a video about, cause the situation itself is pretty alarming, and I don't use that word kindly, as we dive over into the Portland Trail Blazers with their new owner in Tom Dundon. Now, initially, this would seem a little confusing because the team itself is in the playoffs, taking on the San Antonio Spurs, and even though they're expected to lose, it's still a great journey for how they got there. So with all that positivity, should there really be any room to worry about what Tom Dundon is just possibly planning behind the scenes? And I'd say, for the moment, no, not exactly. But maybe in the future, this will be a big problem. I mean, there's already so many factors that we'll get into that are already such... I still can't believe what I'm reading, honestly. The main issue, which I guess is not the biggest surprise when you hear this, is Tom Dundon is really cheap. I do want to make it clear, this is all allegedly, right? We don't have much video evidence. All we have is reports written by journalists. So I get if someone were to say, well, it's easy to pile onto someone, which is understandable, right? However, one, Mr. Tom Dundon has a history of doing these type of things, has a history of making similar decisions just to save money. And two, what these journalists report, I mean, I'm not gonna pretend I'm a know-it-all, right? I only have such a basic knowledge in the journalistic field, but I imagine if you put out some damning reports on someone, I mean, when there's a piece constructed around the criticism of someone's behavior, there has to be a lot of credibility to it. Otherwise, that character can just, or that person can just be like, excuse me? What is all this negativity? They could just come back with potentially a lawsuit of defamation of character. And even the companies that the journalists are under will get under fire because they are employing said journalists. So I imagine the journalist that I'm about to recite will not just be like, oh, he's just for jokes, or that got my mistakes wrong, whoopsie. I don't think there's really much room for that at all in journalism. So let's go over into the multiple situations that we have here. The first story at hand. Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated reports, in the hotel as Portland was visiting Phoenix on Tuesday I'll put the link in the description by the way. On Tuesday afternoon, a strange scene played out in the Trailblazers Phoenix area hotel. What a start, right? Onlookers noted people in Blazers gear hanging out in the lobby, according to 4 sources with knowledge of the situation. 4 sources, that kind of stands out to me. It's not just a couple or just one. A number of staffers were asked to check out of their rooms at noon, hours before the first bus left for the arena. The reason, multiple sources say, was for the team to avoid the cost of a late checkout. Now, playing a little devil's advocate, late checkouts, for the average person experiencing that's not pleasant. But also, that's as far as I can get to with some sort of devil's advocate situation because Tom Dundon is not the average person. As I stated earlier in the video, he is the new owner of the Portland Trail Blazers. He bought it from the Allen family. I mean, there are a couple of other owners, co-owners, in fact. He also owns the Carolina Hurricanes, which, oh boy, there's a lot of interlinking there we'll get to. So basically what I'm saying, he's rich. And yeah, owners being very cheap is nothing new. I did have a segment, my previous Memphis Grizzlies video, discussing about my concerns with Robert Pera, but this is a whole new level of cheap. I'm not sure if there's any other owner who willingly forces or just cares enough to kick out. The story says check out the room earlier. That's basically kicking out of the hotel room and just waiting in the lobby. All for a late checkout fee. I don't know how much a late checkout is because I've barely been to a hotel these days, but that's 6 cents to these billion-dollar owners. Aside from the weird financial aspect behind it, it's just a really crappy thing to do. That just leaves a sour taste on those staffers' mouth, right? This seems obvious, but we just forget how much effort goes behind the scenes in just preparing for the players, making sure all the equipment goes well, making sure just other sorts of management travels, meetings that the team might have with some other type of personnel, right? Making sure all of that goes well. We don't really see that much type of attention, love, or praise get directed towards them. I mean, some teams' YouTube channel series try to do their best, but there's only so much of a hardcore fan base that tunes into that. Again, multiple sources, 4 sources is a lot, reporting on this, seeing these Blazers staffers just being left out and about. So that's already angering a pretty massive group of people. And then we move on to the second part, probably the one that caught the most attention out of the whole NBA community. The two-way players were not invited to the road games in the playoff series. They are the only team to do this. Portland is the only team to not invite the two-way guys, Caleb Love, Chris Youngblood, I believe someone else, forgive me if I don't remember. All three of those guys just have to sit back in their hotels or their homes and just watch from the TV. They don't experience any of that playoff atmosphere. They don't continue their camaraderie that they built over the season. Not to mention just being the only team to do it blows my mind. And I keep emphasizing being the only team to do this and that because no other owners has even thought about that. They just don't care enough. That's just so disrespectful. I mean, I know owners are not going to be that tuned into the games, but it's already so hard to keep a roster spot. You already have so much uncertainty being a two-way player as it is. Also, like, the two-way players in Portland, I feel like they're in a situation where they stepped up more so than other teams' two-way players, or they were obligated with a much heavier task, right? Especially Caleb Love. Caleb Love, especially, man. The amount of injuries Portland suffered to their point guard position, you couldn't make it up. I mean, Denny Avdia basically had to carry in a big portion of the season Drew Holiday, Blake Wesley, Scoot Henderson, some other guard. I'm gonna kick myself later for not remembering the other guard, but 4+ guards in Portland suffering injuries requiring significant times of rehab. Caleb Love was called up and asked to step up even though he was an undrafted rookie, and he did honestly a tremendous job for what he's been asked for. His scoring helped so much, his perimeter shooting helped so much on a team that suffers on perimeter shooting. There's been a couple games where he pretty much won Portland the game. I mean, obviously it's a team effort and all that, but without his efforts, Portland would not be 42-40. They would just be under 500, honestly. But Mr. Tom Dundon, just to save like what, a few $1,000s? He's like, nope, we're not letting you guys come on the team, plane, bus, whatever it is. But like for Caleb Love especially, I'm not gonna like assume or guess what he's gonna say, right? But I'm sure there's a high probability. There's a sense of, why did I bust my butt so hard if this is how I'm gonna get treated? Hello, editing Trey here. As I was overlooking this segment, I realized that was probably not the best phrasing of words. The feeling still stands. I sense a lot of frustration from someone who played over 1,000 minutes for Portland in this season. So yeah, let's just go with the thought of Caleb is probably pretty frustrated by this decision. Back to the video. That's the second thing that caught my eye. And honestly, that's what's causing all of these nasty reactions from the NBA community. Rightfully so, right? They're just calling him out on his BS. It doesn't end there. Those two are already so bad enough. Yet we have more. Third story. Now this is more allegedly than the other two, but I mean, based on the other two reports, why shouldn't we believe it? He is willing to offer only around the $1 million range for the next head coaching search. You heard that right. Only 1 million, maybe 2 at most, for the next head coach, which most likely could be Thiago Splitter. And there were reports where he offered Thiago Splitter pretty much like a lowball offer, which Splitter rejected, but Dundon pretty much said that report's not true. But oh my god, just the fact he has to clarify it isn't true. Doug Christie, I mean, as no shade to him, a development coach, he's great, right? He's coaching arguably the worst team in the Sacramento Kings. He's in a position where some Sacramento Kings fans are calling him out on his tactics, right? Yet, despite all of that, he is earning $2 million per year. We have assistant coaches earning around not even 1 million, sometimes like 1.3, 1.5 million dollars. Yeah, Tom Dundon thinks that's enough for our next head coach. Look, I get $1 million is a lot of money, but if we just compare to the average, what the average coach is making, you would feel pretty insulted if you were offered such a low ball offer. You can make similar money to go to an assistant coaching position, to learn more from there and, get less pressure, less heat from the fan base. Which I guess is another great transition to, how I mentioned earlier that Mr. Dundon is also the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes? From what I'm seeing, it seems like he thinks the Carolina Hurricanes and Portland Trailblazers, the NBA and NHL entities essentially, are compatible. He thinks he can make similar magic or gusto or whatever. Dog, saying the NBA and NHL or thinking that it's the two same, somewhat similar leagues is just mind-blowing to me. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on that, right? A bit too serious? I'll bring up some visual examples, right? The first example I want to stress on a lot. NHL money is not the same as NBA money because the NBA as itself earns way more. Not to say it's a better product or better entertainment, right? But it just grown, it just got those TV marketing deals. Wow, I can't believe I'm making these comparisons. It's been a while since I tuned into the NHL. For those who don't know, I used to be tuning in heavily. Anyways, we look at the contracts and the salaries earned. I'll pull up Connor McDavid's contract right now. For those who are unfamiliar with the NHL, Connor McDavid is as best as you can get out of an NHL player. He is the franchise, your #1 superstar. He is one of those top faces that the NHL markets the most. People argue that he's might be the best player in the NHL, if not top 3. You know how much he earns despite doing all of that, despite accomplishing all of that features? I mean, we are talking about the face of one of the most common sports leagues in the United States, right? You think he'll earn 2 years, $100 million? 2 years, 80? At the least, at the very least. Nope. 2 years, $25 million. For being top 5 in the NHL. Dude, what's an NBA role player? Like, role players earn much more than that. Patrick Williams. I'm so glad I thought of examples. Patrick Williams earns more in a year than Connor McDavid. Think about that. Patrick Williams earns approximately $19 million, or it's actually 18.5, but still, like, we round it up, $19 million. That's $7 million more than Connor freaking McDavid. And P-Will is ass. I'm sorry, alright? But that's the truth of the situation. Glad for him, he got the bag. He took advantage of AK's questionable decision making, right? That's the difference. Nathan MacKinnon, another star player, another dog, right? Best NBA comparison I can get to him is Nikola Jokic. Makes sense. Both are in Denver. Both unbelievable in their ability. You want to know how much he makes? 8 years, $100 million. We round that down. $12.6 million per year. I'm actually kind of getting really sad that Patrick Williams is making $7 million more than these guys. And you know how I talked about 8 years, $100 million for someone like Nathan MacKinnon, which, oh my goodness, that sounds like a lot of years. That sounds very team friendly because it's for a very long period of time. That's another segue. The NHL contracts are so much more different. You cannot give an 8 or 10 year contract in the NBA. 5 years supermax, and even then in the NBA community, we were like, whoa, 5 years, that's a lot of commitment. 5 years, kind of nothing in the NHL, right? Or at least, that's normal. Because of those increase in years, you get the increase in flexibility. A lot of those contracts are pretty flat. You know, Nathan MacKinnon, that 12.6 M's is staying the same. You can get away with that, that's considered cheap, right? Cheap money. But you think you can get away with that in the NBA? Can you imagine? Yeah, LeBron, we know you're you're the GOAT, right? Arguably. You're just everywhere, right? Plastered on the faces, 72. Alright, how about an 8-year, $88 million contract? That's the type of mentality you're giving, Mr. Dundon, alright? Now, the more I keep saying it, I'm just believing certain things now, because it just makes sense. I can imagine he's getting a mini stroke from looking at Drew Holiday's contract, and he's like, yo, Mr. Cronin, get rid of this right now. This is voodoo. I'm hoping, right? Not for his sake. Screw him, right? For Portland's sake. That he can realize NHL contracts and NBA contracts. That's the biggest thing, man. We've seen with owners, if they want to be cheap, they will force players out. I'm pretty sure we saw like Josh Harris. Not pretty sure. We saw Josh Harris do that with Jared McCain. If Mr. Dundon is just relentless like that. Oh, should we extend Donovan Clingan? Should we really extend Scoot Henderson? Even though Portland spent all these times building up this identity, like, these were trying times. And he's just like, what about that guy earning $10 million? He could provide the potentially same impact just for this amount of the cost. Maybe his co-owners just check him and hold him to reality, because it seems like they're attending the games, they're more invested. But I just don't have a lot of faith. I mean, we've seen... I mean, you can add Mr. Dundon to the list of owners, like, oh, what else is new? It's like the sky is blue. Billionaires being cheap, right? But this is a whole new level of just WTF. And you know what's crazy? We still have a cherry on top. We still have a cherry on top to all of this. Basically, no playoff t-shirts. No playoff t-shirts allowed for games 3 and 4. So basically, he's performing a speed run of how many people he can anger. He's angering the staff, he's angering people behind the scenes, he's angering the players, and now he's angering the fans. Like, these decisions are so preventable and so mind-boggling, so out of touch. 90% of the time in a small market town, wearing those playoff t-shirts, that's part of the experience. That's what makes it special. That's what makes the viewing special, right? We just saw San Antonio. Oh my goodness, what a color scheme, right? OKC. Those thousands of shirts in unison. What a sight to behold. Yet we're not doing that for Portland? And I know co-owner, I don't know the first name, but Mr. Steele, right? He says, no worries, we'll provide an alternative. You don't have to provide an alternative. You could have, if it's a towel, I swear to God, if it's just a towel and no t-shirt, because on the surface it might seem so silly, but there's just so many small little things to remember, right? It's not just the entire spectacle. There's so many details within that spectacle. You know how you go to your home and be like, oh man, remember this, remember that, and how we were wearing this? Just so many small factors lead up to this big thing, right? And he's just like, he's nitpicking it. Oh, and one last thing, I don't really have a main message here, it's just to let you guys know, he's very cheap. We're not done with the Carolina Hurricanes experience. In order to save more money, again, he just can't get enough of this, he let go of the Carolina Hurricanes broadcasting team. A broadcasting team that the Hurricanes fan base loved, mind you. We could potentially face the same with the Portland Trailblazers broadcasting crew. Now look, if they're under extension for 2 to 3 more years, that's definitely a dodged bullet, but what if they're not? I mean, Trailblazers fans, you can inform me in the comments. I swear, if Mr. Kevin and Mr. Lamar do not get an extension because Tom Dundon wants to save more money, even though to not only have two people who have insane good chemistry together, to be so invested and point out so many ticky-tack things. And I forgot, shout out Tom Haberstroh and the female reporter who I'm really sorry I don't remember your name, but you do a really great job reporting. I swear, that crew is as great as it gets. Best case scenario, they're already like under contract for a long extension. But if not, this is so bad. It's just like, even though these stories seem so small in scale or comparison or whatever term you use, it's all a part of the experience of being like part of a team, of being part of a community, right? Sure, you get interested in the team, but it's the other things that make you stay. You think some of the Chicago Bulls fans I know stay Bulls fans because of the team itself? No, aside from Buzelis and Giddey, not really. There's Benny the Bull mascot, there's the Bulls broadcasting crew, another elite bunch. Heck, even the PA announcer, when he says 3, and whoever name, there's some joy in that. So again, just to take all of that away, you better not be surprised if there's some outrage coming your way. I don't want to come out with a sign like the world's ending, but there's so many accumulating factors here that could lead to a disaster or downfall. I still can't get over the playoff t-shirts. I still can't get over. Well, maybe we can check in with Synthetic Sports and see how they're doing. Anyways, that's my whole long spiel. I just realized how long I recorded. Oh my goodness. I don't want to spoil the mood, right, Blazers fans? Celebrate the Spurs series, celebrate the playoffs. I'm just worried. That's all.